So hello guys, we are here with the second video. So we'll discuss more questions in this and more concepts can be learned from this. So yes, I'm starting with this question. It's a very basic question as far as our concepts are concerned. So we are actually talking about the same straight line which is followed by some bodies. Okay, so two objects are there and these two objects are moving along the same straight line, are leaving point A. So let's suppose this is my point A. Okay, and two objects are moving away from it. So moving away from it, two objects are moving away from it. One of them has an acceleration a, the other one has acceleration 2a. One of them has initial velocity 2v, I mean velocity at a is 2v, the other one velocity at a is v. Let us suppose that these are uniformly accelerated motion, and let us consider that this acceleration are not changing. So although they are not mentioning this very specifically in this question, so as to solve this question, I think this kind of an approach is required from our side. So let us suppose that my ball, the first object is this and the other object is this. The first object is moving with the speed of 2v and the other one is moving with the speed of v. Obviously, one of them will be having more speed and the other one will have less speed. Now, the distance moved by the object from point A. So, both of them are moving here, and let us say here, when one object overtakes the other, whichever has more speed will overtake the other. Okay, so this is overtaking it, and that instant when it is overtaking it, at that instant when the one body is overtaking the other, we are supposed to find this particular distance. So the condition of overtaking, if you just try to understand this in a physics perspective, when will you overtake? Like, let us say that you are driving a car and you see one kind of another car which is actually moving ahead of you, and you want to overtake it. So what will you do? You will increase your speed to that extent that you both will, at a point of time, both of you will be having the same position. Okay, so you will move ahead of him. Just that at that instant when you are moving ahead of him, ahead of that particular car, the position of your car and his car will be the same, right? So both these objects will cover same distance at that particular instant, and then they will be lying like this. Then the other one continues to cover more distance in less amount of time. So the velocity of the other one is more and the acceleration is more, so the other one will move forward. So that condition of condition of overtaking requires this particular idea that both of them are at a position, at that particular position when both of them, their positions are equal. The distance covered from A for both of them, whenever they are equal, both of them will be lying like this and then they will move ahead. So the condition is displacement from A, or the distance moved from A, is the same for both. So for the first body, S is equal to ut plus half at square. This can be used here, uniformly accelerated motion. So for the first body, 2v into time, let us suppose at t time, here t is equal to 0. Now here let us suppose t is equal to t seconds, plus half acceleration is a, isn't it, into t square is equal to how much? This will be a v into t plus half into 2a into t square. Fine. So from this, if you solve for this, from this you are going to get 1t can be here itself, you can cancel this off. You will get it as how much? 2v by a, right? This is the equation that you're going to get for time. So at time t is equal to 2v by a, one body is going to overtake the other. Now you can substitute in any of these equations. 2v multiplied by 2v by a plus of half a into t square. So this is 4v square upon a square. So this is obviously 2v square by a. This is actually 4v square by a. So this is 6v square by a. So this is the answer that you're going to get. So this is the distance, this is the distance here, 6v square by a. So I hope you understood how I solved this question. This is a normal kind of a question that you can expect for your practice test. So do keep on writing more exams. That will surely help in improving your time management, your understanding skills, your problem solving skills, and that will eventually lead you on to your success in the coming NEET exam. So let's go to the next question now. So now we will formally define this particular condition. We will try to address all the many questions which are asked from a very commonly encountered situation here. that is motion under the influence of gravity only, or motion where the only force acting on it is gravity, which you call as the free fall. Let us say that you are actually throwing a ball upwards, or you are dropping a ball down, or you are saying that from a height you are throwing a ball down, you are throwing a ball from a height at an angle of 30 degree to the horizontal. So all these kind of questions have to be dealt in this particular chapter, and they are coming under the basic category of free fall or motion under the influence of gravity. Okay, so whenever you encounter these kind of questions in this particular chapter, particle dropped from a height, you are throwing a particle, so the only force acting on it is the gravity. Understand that whenever they frame a question, the basic thing to understand is that you need to consider three assumptions here. There are three assumptions, obviously. Okay, this is something that you are supposed to remember every time. Okay, so this is the first assumption, is that there is no air resistance. Okay, this is the first assumption that you are supposed to know. Only then you will be solving this, you will be able to solve the questions as per what they are mentioning in the question paper, right? So you don't have to consider any air resistance, right, unless they are specifying it. Okay, if they are specifying there is an air resistance, then obviously you have to consider that. The second one is that no wind current. Otherwise, what will happen? You are, say you are throwing a ball up and the wind is pushing it towards one side. So this is more of a projectile kind of a phenomena. We are here talking about one-dimensional motion. See, even in projectile motion, you don't consider wind current normally unless they are specifying something else. Okay, so no wind current unless specified otherwise. And the third point is that you are dealing with some height, isn't it? You may say that, okay, 50 meter up, you are dropping a ball 100 meters up. All these things are considered in this particular chapter. So whenever they frame a question in this particular chapter of one-dimensional motion or even two-dimensional motion, whichever questions you are dealing in the other chapter, next chapter, coming chapter after this, the height that you are dealing over there, the height at which you are throwing a ball up, the distance covered by a ball that you are throwing up, or you are dropping a ball from a tower, so the height of the tower, all this height which you are dealing over there is very, very, very less than the radius of Earth. If it is comparable to the radius of Earth, what will happen? Then the gravitational, acceleration due to gravity will be varying. If the acceleration due to gravity is varying, then how can you apply the basic fundamental idea of uniform motion here? I mean, uniformly accelerated motion. If the acceleration itself is varying, then it becomes a question of non-uniformly accelerated motion. All the concepts which you use over here is either uniform motion, which is very easy, or it is either uniformly accelerated motion, where you have the equations of motion which you are using here. But when height is comparable to radius of Earth, then this becomes a question of gravitation, the chapter of gravitation, right? And then your gravitation or the acceleration due to gravity is varying. Acceleration is varying. It is a non-uniformly accelerated motion. Okay, so that is a non-uniform motion or a very difficult kind of a situation unless specified otherwise. Unless they are specifying it, these are the three important assumptions that you will always make so as to solve any question that is asked from this particular chapter. Okay, so let's go to questions now. Times corresponding to height h from the ground. So let me say this is my ground. From the ground, height h while ascending and while descending are t1 and t2 respectively. So let's suppose that you are throwing the ball at time t is equal to 0. After time t1 is over, it is reaching over here, okay, and then it goes up, it stops over here, here the velocity is equal to 0, then it starts coming down, and as it comes down, when it reaches over here, the time is t2. Time is actually counted from the bottommost point. Okay, so this is from here you are starting to count the time, and from here the time is counted, and here it's t1, and as it comes back, here it's t2. So this is the meaning of saying that height h1 times corresponding to height h from the ground while ascending and while descending are t1 and t2 respectively. Then they are asking you the velocity of projection will be. So the way I solved this question is somewhat like this. See, whenever you are using the equation of motion here, v is equal to u plus at, s is equal to ut plus half at square, v square is equal to u square plus 2as, distance traveled in the nth second, wherever you get these kind of things, the distance that you write over here, the s which you write over here, v square is equal to u square plus 2as, s is equal to ut plus half at square, that s is actually displacement. It is not a distance, it is actually displacement. Now tell me, what is the displacement of the body from the ground? What is the displacement of the body from the ground at time t1? the displacement of the body from the ground at time t1 is h, because it is in a straight line. Now again tell me, what is the displacement of the body from the ground at time t2? At time t2, although it is coming like this, the distance will be the total distance it has traveled from here to here. From the ground to t2, whatever distance it has actually traveled is the distance. Displacement is the shortest path from the initial position to the final position. So at time t2, it is here only at h distance. The shortest distance from initial to the final position is h itself. That means at time t1 and t2, although the distances are different, at t1 distance covered is only h, at t2 it has covered more distance, right? It has covered more distance. So at both t1 and t2, the displacement of the body are the same. Displacements are equal. So you can equate it. So at time t1, what is the displacement here? It is projected, let's say that initial velocity is u. You are asked to find that, isn't it? U into t1 plus half. Okay, I have to make it as minus here. It is going up. So the gravity is in the opposite direction. So it is acceleration that opposes motion. Acceleration that opposes motion is called as retardation. Half g t1 square is equal to, yes, at time t2, it is u into t2 plus half, because acceleration is towards the direction of motion, half g t2 square, right? So this will give you the displacement. As I told you, whenever you use the equation S is equal to ut plus half at square, v square is equal to u square plus 2as, s means displacement, not distance. Here when I talk about the displacement at t2, I just have to use that particular equation of s is equal to ut plus half at square. Distance is not considered over there. I am simply considering the displacement over there. Now from here, u into t1 minus of t2 is equal to half g into t2 square minus of t1 square. Now what is a square minus b square? A plus b into a minus b. So this a minus b will get cancelled off. You will get it as half g t2 plus t1. That is equal to the initial velocity. This is my answer. Now only one option is matching here. So my correct answer for this question is option number 4. I just thought of doing it in this way. So this is the way I solved this question. So yes, I hope I simplified this question a bit. Let's go to the next one now. Now this is a question that I attempted during one of my practice tests. Okay, so I got this during one of my practice tests. I will try to discuss this with you. A ball is dropped from the height of a building, from the top of a building. The ball takes 0.5 seconds to fall past the 3-meter height of a window, some distance from the top of the building. So we don't know how much is the distance from the top of the building this particular 3-meter long window is situated. So this is the window. Okay. Now the time taken for it to cover the entire length of the window is 0.5 seconds, and the length of the window, or the distance traveled by the ball while covering the window, is 3 meter. The velocity, the speed of the ball at the top and bottom of the window are Vt and Vb respectively. Then they are asking you to conclude from these particular options. Okay, so from the options I understand that we are supposed to find out the value of Vt and Vb. So let's make two equations and solve them, because they are two variables here, Vt and Vb. So let's make two equations now. The first thing that I would like to do is, see here it is Vt and it covers a distance of 3 meter, and yes, the new velocity is Vb. So I can use V is equal to u plus at, isn't it? So Vb is equal to, what is u here? Initial velocity is Vt plus V equal to u plus at. So this is g multiplied by time is 0.5 seconds. So I will take it as g by 2. Okay, so let this be an equation now. The next equation that I can make is s is equal to ut plus half at square, isn't it? So s is 3 meter is equal to ut means Vb. Okay, Vt into time is 0.5 seconds plus half, acceleration is 10 into t square. Oh, either they are asking you to take it as 9.8. Let us take it as 10 itself. Half a into t square. So t square is 1/4. Okay, so this is 5/4. So here how much is this? 3 is equal to Vt by 2 plus of 5/4. So I can say that Vt is equal to, finally I am going to get the value of Vt from this, is equal to 3 minus 5/4. okay, multiplied by 2. So this is 3.5 meter per second. Okay, so this is why I got the value of Vt now. Now I will substitute this Vt over here to find the value of Vb. So Vb is equal to Vt is 3.5 plus of 5. Let us take G as 10 itself here. So it's easy to conclude from the options now. So this is 8.5 meter per second. Now which is correct? Are Vb and Vt equal? No, Vb and Vt are not equal, so their ratio will not be 1. This is not my answer. If you multiply this, will it give you 1? No, that is also not my answer. If you subtract this, you will not get 4.9. See, Vt minus Vb is not 4.9, but Vb minus Vt is 4.9, isn't it? Yeah, so velocity at bottom is always more than velocity at the top. So here they are saying that okay, velocity at top minus velocity of bottom. Had it been velocity of bottom minus velocity of top, then it would have been correct. So this is wrong. And finally I will get this. If you add them, will you get 12? Yes. Yes, I do. So my answer for this question is option number 1. It's a fairly easy question, but yes, you need to get this particular method of solving while you are given a question like this in the exam. So yeah, practice these kind of questions. Let's now proceed to the next one.